You keep watching everyone pull ahead. They seem smarter, better connected, more polished. And every time you compare yourself to them, you walk away feeling like you're already behind before the race even starts. But here's the thing, nobody tells you. Raw intelligence is not the deciding factor in who wins. Volume is. Effort is. Staying in the game when everyone else taps out is. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to outwork people who seem smarter than you, and why doing that is more within your control than you've ever been told. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Most people who are losing right now are losing because they've convinced themselves the game is rigged. That person ahead of them must have had better advantages, better circumstances, better natural talent, and maybe they did. But here's what that explanation costs you. It costs you the actual solution. Because while you're busy building a case for why you can't win, the person ahead of you is just taking more attempts. They're putting in more repetitions. They're staying in motion when you've gone still. That's the gap. Not intelligence, not talent, attempts. Think about this like a numbers problem. Imagine two people competing in the same arena. One has a natural head start, sharper instincts, a better education. The other one doesn't, but that second person refuses to stop. They iterate when things fail. They adjust and try again. They absorb the losses without letting the losses define them. Given enough time, enough attempts, enough willingness to be bad before they get good, the second person closes the gap. And often, they surpass the first. Not because they outthought them, because they outworked them at the level that actually matters, which is showing up over and over long after it stopped feeling exciting. Here's the psychological trap that kills most people in competitive situations. They compare their Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 20. They look at where their competitor is right now, the polished version, the confident execution, the results, and they measure themselves against that standard while ignoring all the invisible work that preceded it. Every person you look up to had a version of themselves that was embarrassing, messy, and uncertain. The difference is that they kept going through that phase until they got out of it. You're in that phase right now. The question is whether you'll treat it like a stopping point or a starting point. Now, let me give you something practical because motivation without strategy is just noise. Outworking smarter people comes down to 3 specific behaviors that most people consistently skip. The first one is volume without waiting for readiness. The number one reason people fall behind isn't laziness. It's perfectionism disguised as preparation. They tell themselves they're not ready yet. They need to learn a little more, prepare a little longer, get a little more confident before they put themselves out there. That waiting period is where potential goes to die. You do not figure out the game by watching it. You figure it out by playing it badly enough times that the lessons become unavoidable. Every failed attempt is a data point. Every mistake recalibrates your approach. Waiting gives you 0 data points. It gives you only anxiety. The second behavior is using your natural wiring instead of fighting it. Here's something fascinating. What looks like discipline from the outside is often just someone working in their zone of natural strength. When you're doing work that lines up with how your brain actually operates, the effort required drops dramatically. You get more done. You produce better quality output. You recover faster from setbacks. The person who seems like they have an incredible work ethic might simply have found the domain where their particular set of instincts is an asset. Your job isn't to clone their path. Your job is to find the version of this competition where your natural tendencies give you leverage. Being analytical, being stubborn, being detail-obsessed. These aren't weaknesses. In the right context, they're weapons. Design your approach around what you're actually built for, and hard work stops feeling like torture. The third behavior is tolerating failure long enough for the odds to shift in your favor. This one is the hardest because it's emotionally brutal. When you're in a losing streak, every part of your brain screams at you to stop, to protect yourself, to conclude that it's not working and move on. But here's the reality of skill development in business and any competitive arena. The early phase always looks like a loss. The ratio of failures to wins is devastating at the start. Most people read that ratio and quit right before the ratio would have started shifting. They leave the game at exactly the wrong moment. The people who accumulate wins are not smarter than you. They simply stayed long enough for the math to change. And this is the thing that your smarter competitor is not necessarily doing. Intelligence gives you an edge in execution, but it does not guarantee persistence. In fact, Smart people often have a harder time tolerating the ugly early phase because their high expectations make the initial failures feel more humiliating. They're more likely to rationalize quitting because they're better at constructing convincing reasons to stop. You can use this. You can outlast someone who is technically sharper than you simply by refusing to exit the arena when things get hard. That stubbornness, that refusal to let failure be the final word, that is a skill. And it is one you can build deliberately starting today. Stop measuring yourself against where your competitor is right now. Start measuring yourself against where you were last month. Track your attempts, not just your outcomes. Find the domain where your specific wiring is an advantage and stop trying to win on someone else's terms. And most importantly, stay in motion, because in any long game there are ultimately only two kinds of people, those still playing and those who quit. The ones still playing always have a chance. The ones who quit never do. You're still here. That already puts you ahead of everyone who walked away. Now, subscribe for more high-level stuff like this and go grab life by the throat.